Hello and welcome to the Maureen Bradley Designs YouTube channel. Hey there, I'm Stephanie Reese, and today I am working on using beads and components from Jesse James Beads. I shared last week these beads from some new products, actually beads and chain new products that Jesse James Beads has on their website. And so today I wanted to make something and share with you what I'm making. One of the things that I really loved about this box is we got a bunch of strands. And so with those strands, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and make some ornaments. And these are things that you can make for not just a Christmas tree per se, but how about packaging or an adornment for a window or a place you might have in your house that you just want something beautiful to hang. So this one is one that I made already with using some embroidery thread. I made a tassel with it with some purple turquoise. This is sort of it's orange, but it's more of a rusty orange, so I really enjoyed how pretty it was. It's from, these embroidery threads are from one of my favorite needle shops when I went to the beach. And I also used some, this is like a light pink, more of a rose color, and I thought it really popped out the turquoise, purple, and the rusted orange in it. I grabbed a vintage bead cap, and then I paired it with these beautiful Jesse James beads in one of the strands that it came with this mix that I got in this selection of beads. Again, they were all strands. So that video is also posted below. It was the last video from, I believe, last week. And so now I'm just making a few things with it. And so every year I do make, I make 25 ornaments for the holiday Christmas season. And I started to think maybe I'll jumpstart it. And I just think Jesse James beads are just so beautiful for that purpose. Not just for jewelry making, but also for any gifts that you might like to make. And I thought that this was a wonderful way for someone who doesn't maybe wear jewelry, that you could make some adornment pieces. Again, this could be for packaging or, you know, for just simply for a place in your home that you want to have some sparkle, something beautiful. So the next thing I wanted to make today in this video, I'll leave that there. One of the things I was thinking about using are the sun catcher crystal that they have on their website. That's also from Jesse James Beads. These thunder polish crystals, they're super tiny. And then these two strands also were in the bead mix, the bead strand mix. And I thought it looked rather nautical together, and I really love lighthouses. So I printed off, let's see if I can share this with you. I don't know if you can see it. I'll do it this way. But this is one of my favorite lighthouses. I know it's big. It's an 8.5 by 11 picture. So I printed it off to share with you. And the colors aren't as vibrant as what I've seen online. It's a lighthouse in North Carolina, and it has red at the bottom with white and black stripes, and then there's the light at the top. But it's one of my favorite lighthouses, and so I thought I would make a special piece for my collection to share, and I thought I would share that with you. So to start, I'm going to use this sun catcher piece. It's so beautiful. Again, it is on the website for Jesse James Beads. And to start, I thought I would make a little skirt with the gold chain from Jesse James Beads using these crystals, these thunder polish crystals. So to start, I'm going to be using the chain and the crystals with the sun catcher. And I'm going to use some Supple Max. This is a clear illusion cord, monofilament illusion cord. And I'm going to cut off, I think this is like 14 inches about. We're not going to need a lot, but we are going to need a little bit so that we can make a knot and tie it off. And you're going to need a beading needle. And one of the first things I do for the size of needle that I can use is to go ahead and see if my beads fit over my needle. And it does. So this needle is going to be okay to use. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take some chain nose pliers and I'm going to smash that end of the monofilament illusion cord, the Supple Max, so that I get a flat piece. I don't know if you can see that, but I have flattened it. And that is going to allow me to pass the monofilament cord through my needle. If I can see it, I may have to pause and get it threaded. Okay, let me pause. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got it threaded into my needle. And then I'm just going to take my pliers and pull the end through, leaving a little tail. Like so. So we've got our Supple Max, and I'm going to thread on 3 of these little thunder polished crystals. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to move them down. And then I'm going to thread on the end of this chain, like so. And again, we're just making a little skirt that goes around the crystal. And I want to go ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, as usual, I want to put 3 more crystals on before I measure. 1, I can find it, 2, 3. So I've got 3 more. And since this is the beginning of my little skirt here, I'm going to do 1 inch. So I'm just going to measure with my ruler about 1 inch and pass my needle through the chain so that I've got a little dangle like so. And then if I can share with you, that's how it's going to be on the crystal, the Suncatcher crystal. So I just want to make sure it's straight. I need to move my monofilament cord around it. Okay. And then I just have to be careful I don't, did I get it, or did I get it twisted? Okay, hang on 1 sec. Let me fix it. Okay, so I got it fixed. I got it a little twisted. So now we're fixed, and I'm going to add 3 more of these little crystals that I can barely see. They're so tiny, but there we go. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to measure 1 more time because I'm going to do a longer length, and then I will pause, finish it, and then come back so that I don't bore you with completely doing this over and over again. So just making sure I'm in the camera here. I'm measuring 1.5 inches because I want it to be a little longer than the first one, and then I'm just going to alternate doing this. 3 crystals. I did 1 inch first, 1 inch first of my chain, 3 more crystals, and then 1.5 inches of my chain. So I have this delicate little skirt that's forming for my crystal. I'm going to finish feeding everything on, and I'll be back. 1 sec. Okay, so I have all of my chain and beads on the Supple Max. And the best thing I can say for tips is just to make sure that your chain isn't getting tangled. I had to several times hold it straight and dangle it down so that all the kinks were not in it to keep it from getting tangled. So the next step here is to go ahead, I'm going to pass through everything one more time so that I make a round, and that includes the chain. Okay, and as you can see, I've got everything passed through one more time on my needle, and I'm just going to pull that needle back through everything to the other side. Gently. And I have a little tail there. So before it goes through all my beads, I want to pull on it while I pull on my other end with the needle. So I'm just making a little round and making sure my tail comes out. And it's delicate, so you may just have to gently guide it into place, like so. As I've placed it over my sun catcher. Put my needle down, and I'm just pulling it taut or taut so that it's in place over my sun catcher, and you can see how I've got how it is over my sun catcher crystal. And now we're going to tie a knot in place so that it doesn't come loose. So I'm just going to I'm going to pull it off, and I'm going to do an overhand knot. Like so, pulling it into place. And then I'm going to do one other knot, which is a surgeon's knot, where I go, pull this over once, and I'm going to go over one more time, and I'm going to pull everything together like so. And that's, my chain is caught just a little bit, but I'm going to come around and feed that back through this other bead, getting my chain out of the way. So I'm going to go under and see if it will let me. So what I'm trying to do is feed my Supple Max back through. Okay, so I had to untangle my actual Supple Max knot from my chain. So I've gone ahead and done that. And I have switched to one of these larger hole beading needles, also because as I was thinking about this, I don't want to pop these little crystals, and the more times you pass through the crystals, the more you can pop them. So I've gone ahead and switched to this smaller beading needle, and I've put it through the crystal there, and I'm just going to bring it through that big eye on this needle, and you'll see that it passes through a little bit easier. I have to tug on it a little bit with my pliers. Hang on one second. And I'm holding this and just pulling it through like so. And now my knot is secure. I can clip away my Supple Max without cutting the chain there. And now I'm going to place my little chain skirt on top of my crystal here and undoing. Things got a little tangled. There we go. So now I have my little skirt that goes on top of my sun catcher crystal. Put that in the camera. The next thing I'm going to do is string my beads up to make it look like my lighthouse. So the beads that I was thinking about doing, I'm going to use this embellished bead cap on top actually first, so that that keeps my skirt in place. And then this beautiful red, deep red bead that I found in the strands that came in this strand with all the blacks and the grays, I thought was perfect. So let me go back to my picture here and I'll explain what I was thinking. So these little lines on the red kind of were the reason I did this little skirt here on the the sun catcher. And then this red represents the bottom half and the wide part of the lighthouse. And then I'm just going to go with the black and the white on top. So I was thinking this beautiful round bead on top, like so. And then for the stripes, this strand, the blues and whites, it had some white rondelles in it. And then I thought I really enjoyed that piece. And as the lighthouse, as you'll see in the lighthouse, it goes from wide to narrow to the top. So I was thinking I could use this one here. And then, as you'll see, we have this little area here plus the light. So for that, I really enjoyed seeing these purples and blues, and I loved this for the wider part around the light to give some beautiful sparkle there. And then in this strand with the shell bead, there's these cage beads, and this just made me think of the light that flashes at the top. So that is my lighthouse, and what I kind of thought I would do. Let me put this back on to be a symbol of my lighthouse on here. All right, so I've got my little crystal skirt. Oh, and then I wanted to do these bead caps here. And I like these little spacer beads here. I was thinking between my black bead here, I'll put 2 on each side. And then I have this bead cap that's going to go on top to keep my skirt in place. And I think that's everything that I wanted to use. I think that will be wonderful. Okay, so to do this next part, I want to use here, this Soft Flex color and spinel. And I just thought it matched the red of this bead so beautifully. So I want to cut off a pretty good amount because we're going to double it. So I am thinking I don't want to waste, but at the same time I'm going to need it. I'm going to do 12. Let's do 18 inches just to be on the safe side. I don't want to do quite 24 inches, but I do want a good amount so that I can string and also add more crystals, because we certainly want that flash. This was Soft Flex Spinel color in medium. So I did that in about 18 inches for that. And we are simply going to, I'm going to simply feed my Softflex wire through the opening on the crystal while I've got my, let's see if I can do it like this. I may have to remove it and then place, yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to place it. Okay, so I wanted to put this here. This opening here is a large hole opening on my, and so I'm just gonna make these even right here. And then I'm going to feed that crystal skirt back over, and then I'm going to put this bead cap on top so that it keeps my skirt in place. And then I'm just fixing, did I get it caught? I got it caught. Trouble today. Okay. So I just need to make sure that all of my chains are not caught up in my Softflex wire, and the one is. So we're going straight all the way under the crystal round part and not tagging up or snagging up any of those chains, because those need to float over my bead. There we go, I got it that time. And I'm just making sure they're all hanging positively good. All right, and now I can come back again with my bead cap, and that is going to stay there. And I am using a 1x2 crimp in gold to go over, and I'm simply going to crimp it in place so that everything stays. And I'm using magical crimping pliers for that. So I'll try to do this so you can see it. I'm trying to get as close as I can to that bead cap, and I'm going to press down on it. I get that little, the crimp bead in that hole. And then I'm going to go around and I'm smashing it so that it becomes a bead all the way around. And I'm just turning and crimping or closing down on the crimp. So now we have this in place. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this little tiny crystal bead, because I don't want, well, let me share with you. So I've got a crimp, and I guess I do want this to sit on top of my bead cap. And if it doesn't go through one way, try the other. It's getting snagged. Okay, there we go. So it can sit right on top and cover that crimp bead, which is kind of nice because it's a large hole bead. See that? All right, well, let's do with that. I was going to put another bead cap, but we don't really need it. I'm just going to grab some water. I hope you're having a beverage of choice. Excuse me, while we're making this beautiful adornment. Whether you choose to make a Christmas bauble or something for a window or presents, maybe a gift for someone. And then next I'm going to add this bead cap. This is a silver bead cap that came on that Jessie James bead strand. And then I'm just going to feed my, actually, I want to do one strand. I can't forget about my crystals. I like to get ahead of myself. All right, so here's where we're at. We've got the bead on one strand, and then I'm just going to dump out some of these crystals. and they're so tiny. I'm going to feed them on for you and I'll be back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've added my crystals, and I also had to add this little crystal from the strand because I didn't like how it sat. So this is where I'm at, and I've added 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 crystals to the one side, and this is giving me my little striped effect from my picture. As you can see, the stripes. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add crystals on this side. So now I've added this with the 2. I did also end up taking the bead caps off. I really liked it without it. So this is what we're looking at, and now I'm going to add this bead on this side. And I'm going to come up, actually I forgot, one sec. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added both wires through my spacer beads here. Keeping my wire straight, I'm going to add this black bead on, and I'm going to feed the crystals on this side. Okay, I'm back and I've fed on the crystals, and I just wanted to update you. As I was working on the crystals, I really didn't like how I have another method for how to get crystals around, or beads around beads, which I would probably use wire, but it really wasn't sitting straight and it kept flipping on me. So I did come back in and I added a smaller crystal, and I added one of these agate beads that were also in the strand. Whoops. In this bead strand with the black and the red. 2 more spacers, and then I've added my this got like a white brown or white red crystal on there. And so now I'm ready to bring in the piece that sort of acts as the base around the light, like so. And I was really wondering if I had maybe... Okay, I apologize for that. The phone rang while I was talking to you, and my dog is now barking. It's so lovely. So I found these spacers in this strand mix with the purple that went with this. And so I think what I'd like to do is add those. And I like adding these are potato chip spacers, or that's what I call them. But they're wavy spacers, and I think they just add some beautiful touches to this piece. Okay, so that's our Lighthouse sun catcher so far. And then what I need to do is take this and feed it around. So now I have to decide how I want my light or cage crystal to hang. And I'm thinking, so like the picture, I'll bring the picture back in so you can see. It sort of stands straight like that with that little piece at the top. I apologize. And so I think I want that little nub at the top to sit up like that. And then sort of like a window with the crystal and the light. So I think that's how I'm going to hang it. And so I'll leave it like that. And because I want this to hang like so, with my crystals being like this, I'm going to come through the bottom. So there's my little window, and I'm going to go through the bottom here. And actually, I forgot to feed my crimp on. So we need to do that first. And then I'm just making sure everything's straight on here and sitting properly, because we're going to crimp. And so everything should sort of sit snugly here. And then I'm pushing my crimp down, and I don't want to get my wires twisted. And then there's my window, so I'm going to take my strands and I'm going to feed them through the bottom. And then I'm going to come back through, I'm going to push that crimp bead up, and I'm just making sure my strands aren't twisted. And I'm going to feed those back through my crimp bead. And again, I'm going to use the magical crimping pliers to create this. So I'm just pushing this down as far as I can, because yeah. And then I want to pull my strands gently, and I'm pulling one at a time, and I just want to make sure that the crystal's sitting right, and I have everything fed through and everything is sitting properly. So we may have to push and pull a little bit to make sure everything's sitting right. Okay. And then I have a little bit of a there. Okay. So there we go. So that is my lighthouse. And I've got my crimp bead and my wires snug, making sure that nothing is crisscrossed and in place. Okay. So now I'm going to take my magical crimping pliers and I'm going to press down. I'm going to insert that crimp in that hole, and I'm clamping down to create that pillow. And then I'm just going to, as I turn, I'm going to smash it down, creating a bead with that crimp. And I just keep turning until I have a little bead around my wire. And then I'm just going to take my flush cutters and I'm going to, I like to cut away one at a time because I'm so afraid I'm going to cut the wires that are going through my bead, and that's not what I want. And I always save my scraps for other projects. I've got a little bit left over. The funny thing is that I wasn't sure with how I had my beads and my crystals how much extra wire it would take. It wasn't bad at all. So there is my ornament, gift, whatever you so choose, sun catcher for my window. I will be taking a picture of it and posting it to my Instagram and Facebook pages, and if you follow me you'll be able to see that there. And that is all I have for today. We're over our time limit. I try to keep these to 30 minutes, but we are over our time. I so wish you a happy day. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the week. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.